Weirding Way Media. Welcome to 80s TV Ladies, where we look back in order to leap forward, and where we like to say, get ice out of LA. Hey, make sure you're registered to vote, and you can check your voter registration at vote.org. Here are your scintillating hosts, Susan+lambert+hatem and Sharon+johnson.
Hello, I'm scintillating Susan.
Hello, and I'm scintillating Sharon. We talk a lot about mothers and daughters on this show. One, we all have mothers, and many of the great 80s TV ladies shows feature mother and daughters, from the Golden Girls, Mama's Family, Scarecrow and Mrs. King, to Roseanne and Kate and Allie. The list goes on.
And today, our special guest is a friend of myself and Melissa from our USC Film School days, who is the daughter of a fabulous 80s TV lady, Linda Elstad, who wrote for a ton of 80s television, including One Day at a Time. She graduated from Hollywood High School and UCLA. She became a television writer in the late 70s, working well into the 90s.
Linda worked on over 20 television shows, iconic 80s shows like Fame, Dallas, and The Facts of Life. She was a staff writer on One Day at a Time from 1983 to 1984, and she served on the Writers Guild Board of Directors from 1986 to 1990.
Linda was also a nominee for the Humanities Prize for her Fame episode and won the 1982 Humanities Prize for her television movie Divorce Wars, a Love Story, starring Tom Selleck and Jane Curtin. So we asked her daughter, our friend Karin, to come on and talk with us about her mom, Linda, and what it was like to grow up the daughter of an 80s TV lady. Karin herself is a modern TV lady and a vice president at HBO. So welcome to 80s TV Ladies with Karin Elstad. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm great. Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
We're really delighted that you're able to join us today. So let's start with what you're doing now. You've been at HBO since the 90s and obviously have been through a lot of changes, and would love to hear about what that experience has been like for you.
I love my career there. It's an accidental career, I like to say. What I do is basically, so I'm in business affairs. It's not a creative position. It's problem solving all day long. And I run two departments, our clip licensing for the HBO and Max originals. So anything that needs to be licensed that's, our property, it comes to me and my team. And I also handle the credits. So I had a friend who gave me the nickname the credit bitch because I'm the person who gets to say no. But I started I was hired. I had a new baby. We needed health insurance, and my friend was working there. I had also just lost my mother, coincidentally. This is kind of a full circle. So sitting in a nightgown, really depressed, new baby, and my friend says, get out of your chair. I have a temp job for you at HBO as an assistant to this person. And he's still around. He's a great guy, documentary producer and creative executive. And you can work 1 week a month. It won't be hard. I was like, who's going to watch my baby? My mom was the only babysitter she ever had. She was only 5 months old. And so she said, well, we'll figure that. I have a nanny for you too, by the way. So I started working, and I really loved it. I was just an assistant in production. I took the job full time and thought, well, how am I going to do this? Being a new mom. But the product was great. The people were great. I said, I'll give you a year. So it's been about 28.
So that was a
I'm
deal.
not a quitter. But now I have I run a team, and we don't just handle credits, but we handle we cover all the talent obligations, whether it's screen, creative services, photo approvals, merchandising for that on all the deals that HBO handles, and make sure all those are being met, including tax incentives and, guild requirements, et cetera. So it's fun. And each show's different. And, we're just solving problems. And it's a little bit like production was, which I loved. When you finish something, unlike writing where, you could always rewrite.
Yes.
And that was,
Yes. Projects are never finished, just abandoned.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's been a good run.
In terms of the numbers of shows produced when you started versus now, I would imagine it's significantly different. There's a lot more production now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, I started and it was called HBO Pictures. So we made about 7 HBO movies a year. But then think about it, and I always think about this. We used fax and phone, and everything moved slower. You just couldn't do as much, right? HBO was just starting its original series, right? Sex and the City, The Sopranos were just getting produced. And so I worked with the films department for a while. We started doing more independents as well as, the regular big budget. And eventually we merged both the series, the miniseries, and the films division. So that's, now I work on everything. We don't do films as much anymore, but we're just gangbusters with series and limited series.
So you're now a 90s to modern TV lady. What has been the biggest change you've seen from the perspective of HBO?
You know what? I feel really proud because our company, under HBO, there's a group of us that have been there a long, long time. I'm kind of a baby in that group, but between 25 and 40 years, right? So there's such a trust. There's easy way to communicate, and there's a professionalism. Even with the people who've come along after, there's really like an ethic and a professionalism. We were talking about, the staple throwers, that behavior really doesn't exist. So there's just a lot of respect. I work with some of the smartest people, funniest. And I think this was always true. There's sort of I want to say, not progressive. People care about their community, care about causes. Our documentaries focus on things that are just so important. So there's a reason that we pick a subject. It isn't just how many dollars can we make here. Is there something to say?
Yeah. There's still that it's not television, it's HBO feeling.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. I don't know.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
All right. Can we take us back? I want to go back
Please.
And talk about how your mom became a writer in the 70s and 80s.
I was just thinking, I felt like I was cramming for a final on my mother this last week because I have a lot of her materials and haven't been able to talk to her in person in a long time. She passed in 97. But so her father was a writer.
Mm-hmm.
They lived kind of feast or famine. He made a lot of money in the 30s, in the 40s during the Depression, and he came out to be a writer. So that was normal to her, sort of a creative life.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that she started mostly pursuing it when my dad left in 1978, but looking back through a lot of her work, she had yearned to write. I think she always wanted to be a writer. She tried to get children's books sold. She was pitching articles. She had been a nursery school teacher after she got married and had 4 kids. So she wanted to, pitch an article about how to find the right nursery school for your kids. She had collected antiques. My dad was in the Air Force as a doctor, and they collected antiques in London. And so then she wrote an article about collecting antiques. So she was getting it out there. When they were still married, she took a UCLA extension course in TV writing. This was probably mid-70s. So she started writing spec scripts. She got an agent and went out to pitch for a show called What Really Happened to the Class of '65, which was based on a book, a true story about Palisades High School's class of 65 and what happened 10 years after. So she pitched several options, several different characters and characterizations and stories. And she said the guy kept saying, nah, no, how about another one? She said, I'm not going to leave this room until I get a yes. She wore him down. That was my mother, 100%. So she got that first job for a spec script, and she wrote it, and they made it. They produced it. So we watched that. It aired January 1978.
And can I ask how old your mother was around that time?
Yeah, she was 46. Let's see. She was 45.
She was 45.
Wow.
45.
Wow.
Before that, was her father still alive? Was he able to give her any kind of pointers,
I don't think
insights?
she went to him for advice there. The medium was so different. She had a great community of friends, and I know she probably had made friends in those writing courses. I'm not sure if she did it then, but throughout her life, she always had writers groups that would meet at our house. So they would be sitting around reading each other's work and critiquing. But I'm pretty sure she either went to a teacher or had a community. But ironically, that aired 6 months later. My dad moved out. He told her, I'm leaving.
Oh, wow.
So
That happened before he moved out.
Yep.
That's super interesting.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it? And she was not aware.
She was not aware
that he was going to leave. So in a funny way, she had gotten a foot into a business. And you had talked about how women, were writing because they had opportunity. She was writing kind of to keep a family going.
Yeah.
Because after that,
I assume that then she had custody of you guys. And about how old were...
So I was 15. We had 15, 13, 9, and 7.
Wow.
And so what then was your relationship with your dad? I'm so curious about this.
There was a lot here. Like they were going to rebuild their house, and, all of a sudden he was moving out that weekend. He had another person in his life. And later my mom would say, that's the best thing that ever happened to me was your dad leaving me, because I would have stayed Mrs. Dr. Robert J. Elstad, right? That's what you were on your checks, on your credit cards. You were Mrs. Robert.
Yeah.
And she had to start completely over. So, we were a little bit upset.
Yeah.
So she had, kids that are having emotional experiences. Yes. She's trying to figure it out financially and then pull a career together. So she used to say that, I had a BA degree from UCLA and I knew how to type. So I'm going to be a writer.
Yeah.
Like she just put all her energy into that.
And there's a lot of material over there. She was going.
Yeah, I mean, she got an agent, and I think there were always male agents, right, back then, and she did get a lot of support from that. But I have a feeling she was the kind of person who was like staying on top of things. Mm-hmm. She wrote a lot of spec scripts, and she could pitch. I mean, that's the scariest thing to me. But she would just go there and pitch. I would watch her get dressed and have her, drive off to Beverly Hills or wherever it was that she was going, and she would pitch, and then she'd come home and she'd write. And she would type it out on her electric typewriter, right? And
I know it's so exciting to look at those scripts because they are
50 words a minute. I don't know. It's something crazy.
They're so clearly typed on a typewriter.
Right.
And then in the one script, was it Falcon Crest? What script was we were looking at?
I think so, yeah.
That had the whiteout and the corrections written
liquid
in
paper. Like
liquid
it wasn't
paper.
even the tape.
No,
You were
it
like
was liquid,
blobs
like
of-
thump, 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 yeah. And you couldn't put too much because then you couldn't write over it. It was getting the liquid paper just right was an art. It was the Quincy. I'm so excited about the Quincy script. And where were you guys living?
We lived in Rustic Canyon. It was such a unique time and place, a part of Pacific Palisades, which originally was Will Rogers' land, sort of at the canyon where Santa Monica meets Pacific Palisades. So there's a beach, there's creeks, it can feel really rural. And my mother did not want to drive kids around, so she thought they can walk everywhere. And we did. It was a place in time where, as kids, you could have a movie star's kid or your housekeeper's kid, and everyone just kind of went and did their own things together. You know, we were at the beach, we were at the movie theaters, the Bay theaters. It was kind of everything at face value, if you know what I mean.
Sounds almost idyllic.
Yeah, it's funny because I was talking about, who'd you grow up with? Jeannie Buss. I used to watch Dark Shadows at her house after school. She lived across the street. A friend of mine was dating Matt Sachs, who's still a friend of ours, and his mom's beat Arthur, right? So one day we're too loud and we hear her screaming, Matt, and she throws open the door, quiet down, and it's Maude.
And it's Maude.
And I'm like, oh, okay, they got angry too, Cloris Leachman lived across the street too, and I'm actually back together with my high school boyfriend. He's 2 years older at the same school, Pali High. So Steve McQueen's daughter was a good friend. Tom McLaughlin, remember Billy Jack?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Their
yes.
daughters. But you weren't super impressed. You were a little bit impressed, but everyone kind of was going to public school together too.
Yeah.
Right? And we all walked and we all, had to scrape our money together for ice cream or whatever. And a lot of us stayed close, and well, now with Facebook and everything, but yeah, we did.
It was also that time of growing up in communities where you hung out in the community, and kids were walking everywhere and hanging out at the mall or hanging out
at and you walked to
school
job at the bakery or selling shoes or whatever.
And in the summertime, you'd leave in the morning and you'd come back home when you got at lunchtime if you got hungry, and then you'd go out again and then come back when the sun went down or whatever.
And
those
if your
were the
mom
days.
was writing all the time, she didn't know or care where you were.
As long as you came back, that's everything was great.
So were you not impressed when your mom was going off to work on TV shows?
I was proud of her and I was excited for her. Financially, it was a struggle for a while after my dad left. There was a lot of the typical sort of lawyers and the battling it out, and that was really hard for her. So when she had her own money, that was great. Dallas was pretty exciting.
Dallas was 1980 to 1983 in there, the height of Dallas.
Yeah.
Fame.
I got
crazy.
some props for that.
Then One Day at a Time was 1984. That's when I was graduating from high school. And my mom was a single mom of 2 daughters. Mm-hmm. And so One Day at a Time was this crazy thing. And she looked a little like Bonnie Franklin.
Your mom, she does.
Yeah.
For sure.
Particularly at that time. Yeah. She had the short, reddish blonde hair.
Yeah.
We were not nearly as wild as those children.
And was there a Schneider in your lives?
There was no Schneider in our lives. But that show felt like it was not written for us, but it was, here's this single woman raising 2 kids on her own. And that was really kind of impressive and important at the time. And so I'm curious Which one felt the most significant to you?
Well, what I know is that she put so much of her life experience into her writing. And she mentioned to me that she had a kind of a special connection with Bonnie Franklin. I don't know if Bonnie had gone through a divorce, but certainly recognized that my mom was channeling some of her own experience into the family there. Dallas was just fun and so different than, right, our everyday world. Probably that and Divorce Wars also got to use a lot of her experience, and probably, unfortunately, a lot of the legal side there were a couple of the big ones for her.
And Divorce Wars was Tom Selleck and Jane Curtin. That was crazy. I had totally forgotten about that.
I didn't even remember that one.
I'm excited. I'm going to go check that one out because I don't remember that.
I have it on VHS,
You
Susan,
do?
if you want to borrow it.
Yes, please. There's a VHS in our podcast studio.
I think I recently gave away the 3 VHS machines that, yes, I still had 3 VHS machines. And
In case you needed to go VHS to VHS.
I have no idea why, but for whatever reason, I kept buying. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I think I accidentally gave all of them away, so I no longer have a VHS.
For these reasons.
Because there's stuff on VHS.
I don't think you can connect them anymore. We'll see.
You can always do something. With an old
that's
TV.
right, yeah.
You got to have an old TV to go with the VHS. You need one of those
Anything
TV
away.
VHS.
That's my family's motto, clearly.
I assume Divorce Wars, a love story, seemed to be a huge step in her career. Because she won the Humanitas Award. And then from there, it seemed like there was like show after show after show. And it's interesting to hear that it was personal, that she had just been through a divorce. Did she talk to you about what she was writing about? Did she talk to you about what it meant to her?
She would let me read things. I would sometimes sit in on her writers group, like the 8 is Enough, Fantasy Island. A lot of, I think she saw herself as really just like a workaday writer.
Mm-hmm.
As at a certain point, right? So, yes, Divorce Wars, very personal and probably one day at a time. But I think for her, it was a living. If she could have, waved her wand and had her perfect career, I think she wanted to be a screenwriter.
Mm.
And that was not realized. A lot of it, we'll probably get to the ageism piece of Hollywood. But she had optioned many books and has treatments and spec scripts, fabulous stories. If I had another lifetime, I could try to produce all those. But yeah, I think that was what she envisioned. I mean, for us, when we were in film school, it was features. You're not going to do
features.
TV. You're not going to cop out and do TV. But now you want a series, right?
Yeah.
Or you want a limited series. And who can sustain except, a few people, a theatrical movie. So, but that was her dream.
That was her dream. But she'd be like, I got a fame. I'm going to live forever.
Those. She loved the after school specials, the younger audience work as well. I mean, she had kids. She loved kids. She was a teacher. So I think she gave respect to any genre as well. She worked on Another World, I remember her saying, like, it's a soap opera, but, I can make it good.
Yeah, she did that for like a year. She wrote 39 episodes of Another World. The speed of soap operas always astonishes me.
She was a super fast writer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very handy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really a super fast writer.
I'm not a writer at all. So.
Was she on set for a lot of? Because if you're a pitching writer, you're not going onto the set. You just send in your script and right.
Well, she was on set for Dallas.
She was on set
as
for
a staff
Dallas.
writer. Yeah.
And you got to go to the set.
I'm sure that was my idea to come visit her. That was 81, right?
Yeah.
That was that summer. So that was in between my freshman year of college. I flew out there, watched them shooting.
Where is there? Were they shooting in Texas?
They were shooting outside of Dallas somewhere. And, she got to sit with the writers. I watched them. We went out afterwards to a big dinner. Larry Hagman, his son, the crew, producers. That was really fun. And then she let me go out after that to a bar. It was probably like a country bar. I was still 18. Probably drinking. I was probably legal drinking age there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was Texas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was the 80s. Fun. Very, very fun. I bought a cowboy hat, the real thing.
That's so cool. And she's writing on Dallas at the height. I mean, like the end of season 3 is the Who Shot JR. Mm-hmm. That's when he gets shot, right? Mm-hmm. And coming back for 4 is the Who Shot is the answer.
Right.
So she starts writing on the end. Her first episode is season 3, episode 20, Second Thoughts for listeners that are Dallas fans. So she jumps on this Dallas train at the most exciting time to be on Dallas.
Yeah.
And it's hard to explain what the Dallas phenomenon was now.
Because we don't have the monoculture anymore.
Yeah, what would be the equivalent? I don't even know.
Well, I think the only thing I can think of is something like a Super Bowl because everybody watched it. The numbers of people that watched it. But there isn't on TV. There really isn't anything like that anymore because things are so fragmented, which is unfortunate.
The closest thing in movies lately was Barbie.
Yeah,
sort of. But not that question.
But the cliffhangers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was on the cover of Time, I think. Who Shot JR?
Probably on the cover of everything.
Yeah.
It was so huge. So she's working on this show that is the pivotal television event of the decade. I mean, that's got to be so exciting. And she's writing episodes that are being directed by Larry Hagman and Patrick Duffy.
Yeah.
Was she excited?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she was writing that for sure. Yeah. She loved that. I mean, and then she was, completely I think she probably lapped her doctor husband, She could put the kids through college. She,
Because that was network money.
Right.
Baby.
Yeah. That residual check could be in that green envelope right there. We'll open that at the end.
Open that at the end. Okay, so this is very exciting because Karin brought a residual check for your mother for reruns of one of the shows she wrote on, or more than one, and they come in this very iconic looking green envelope that if you know any writer that's worked in television in Hollywood, you know what that green envelope is. There used to be what they called green envelope season because many of them came at the end of the year and you knew whether you were having a good Christmas or not, depending on how many green envelopes showed up in your mail, but you don't know how much they're for.
And they go to the writer or their heirs. So, the residuals don't stop, right? So they're going.
It's amazing.
They're going to the
estate
beneficiaries.
Because the studios don't stop airing and making money on showing what the writers wrote.
Well, and you know what's kind of cool there is they dwindled for a long time, but now with all of the other outlets, plain old stuff like that you guys focus on, residuals are back up.
Yay.
That's awesome.
Right? Just think about it. Anyone who's watching on there's like Tubi or
Tubi, Pluto,
MeTV, one of the other over-the-air channels. There's tons of them that replay all kinds of older shows.
They are contributing.
That's amazing.
The Writers Guild's tracking it all.
Okay. Should we take a little break? Okay. We'll take a little break.
Okay.
And we'll be right back with more Karin and Linda and stories of 80s TV and beyond. And Russia is coming up. That factors
Soviet
in.
Union, baby.
That's right. Soviet Union, not Russia.
Yes, exactly.
That's right.
I hope I don't get in trouble.
Between horseback riding and grinding it out Monday through Friday, I really need some good gloves. If you are tired of stiff, uncomfortable gloves, you need Bare Knuckles. That's BEAR, Knuckles.
Their patented leather gloves are pre-curved for ultimate comfort. They fit your hand perfectly, reducing fatigue.
They have super awesome, strong, and flexible gloves for all heavy-duty occasions, gardening, outdoor work, and even welding. My kids love their welding gloves. Stop wearing out your hands. Use our exclusive code 80s TV Ladies. Get 15% off any product at buybareknuckles.com. The link is in our description. So back to your mom and her writing for Fame. Like one of the coolest breakout shows of the 80s coming off the movie. I think of it as female driven because of basically Debbie Allen.
So good.
She wrote an episode called Solo Song, season 2, episode 7, in 1982, and she was nominated for a Humanitas Prize for that.
Oh, that's such a good story because the first Humanitas Prize, she had to fight on Divorce Wars for her credit, and she ultimately won that credit through an arbitration with the Writers Guild. My mother is very social justice, so she was on the board of the Writers Guild and really, fighting for the underdog in that situation was important. So I don't want to name names, but someone felt like she didn't deserve that credit. He deserved the award solely himself. But then, hey, lo and behold, another show that she works on is nominated. Well, gee.
I guess maybe she does.
I guess
deserve it.
maybe she's Humanitas material after all. But yeah, she was very proud of that.
And did she ever talk about that fight? Basically, a lot of writers have to have that fight, right? Like you work on a show and all that stuff. But there's also that extra like, oh, she was a woman. Powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm not sure if back then it was an automatic arbitration. So if people don't know the difference, what the Writers Guild does now, and again, that's subject to change, but if you have a showrunner, executive producer, or anyone with a producer title who's your writer, writing with a staff writer who doesn't have that sort of producer role additionally, the Guild will step in and say, hey, we're going to read all the material and make sure the more empowered writer, producer isn't putting their name on and that they actually contributed equally, right? So now the Guild steps in so that there doesn't have to be any sort of, I'm challenging you.
Right. So you don't have
career suicide to challenge your
as a baby writer, you don't
EP.
have to challenge your EP. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I don't think you wrote with me. I wrote this by myself. Why are you putting your name on it? I'm not sure back then if it was an automatic arbitration or if she had to protest the credit. Regardless, it came out in her favor. So the Guild's determination's final, and that credit, as they determined, is what ended up on screen.
That's great. Did you ever talk about facing sexism or ageism? Because she's 47 when she starts.
Oh, yeah.
So by the time she's doing Dallas, she's 50.
Well, and she was a ballsy broad. Like, she did not, she was their equal. She would stand up for her ideas in the room. She probably was feisty and got in there and argued. I feel like she did mention that, it could be that it cost her some jobs eventually with certain people with egos. And the ageism piece, sadly, did really come in, I think, as she approached 60. So that was, in the 90s, work was drying up for sure in TV.
Mm-hmm.
The thought was, we want our writers to be 30.
Yeah.
Get the young people, because goodness knows.
30 and male. We'd have like parties for our friends in film school and stuff like that. And then one day she says, Karin, I'm pitching to so-and-so. And it was literally one of my peers from film school. A good guy, a nice guy. And, he probably thought well of her, but she was pitching to someone my own age.
That's crazy.
A male.
Yeah.
But she would show up.
Yeah.
I
think showing up is really a big part of it.
Yeah, I think especially in the 90s, it was hard to be an older woman. Mm-hmm. Unless you had been an executive producer or a star yourself. Yeah.
When she did the work for the Writers Guild, when she was on the board, I believe that was 86 to 90. Mm-hmm. What was important to her to achieve when she was on that board?
That she went on strike with them, she picketed, all the rest. I think, equal pay, residuals, health benefits. She's a union gal. She's very liberal. She was always very political with elections and presidential and Vietnam War. So I think fighting for the working writer who doesn't just get all the endless residuals that needs to work and slog. That was important to her.
I think that if you're outside the industry, you don't quite understand the importance of residuals for writers, for actors. It is how you sustain yourself when there's no work, right? You might get paid a lot, but you may not work for a year. And so the residuals become a real lifeline to continuing to be able to be a writer. Back to One Day at a Time. So she worked on season 9. She was a script consultant, staff writer for One Day at a Time and wrote 2 episodes, Sam's Apartment and Never Hire a Relative. Howard Hessman was on the show. I had totally forgotten that. I think I kind of fell out because once I got to film school, I didn't have time to watch television anymore.
Well, that's also been one of the many fun things about going back and watching these shows, to see people at much earlier stages of their careers. Totally different show. Recently started watching Kate and Allie, and Kelsey Grammer is in the very first episode. He's taking Kate out for a date.
Yeah.
And it blew my mind a little bit. It's a lot of fun.
What were the people that she liked working with the most? You said that, she got along with Bonnie Franklin.
I think she loved working for Norman Lear. He gave women writers a lot of opportunities.
So he was very much part of that show.
I think he was there. And it's funny, I ran into him, I think I was wearing this jacket. There was a documentary that they did with Carl Reiner, and I think it was an HBO documentary. If you wake up in the morning and you're not in the obits, eat breakfast. You should watch, because it's all the old Hollywood guys talking about how their longevity, not just Hollywood, it's doctors, etc. Really uplifting, happy, funny documentary. And we had a little premiere, and I went with my friend from film school, Danny Salas, and everyone's like, there's Norman Lear. I go, I need to go talk to him. I walked over to him and I introduced myself. I said, my mother worked on your show and you gave her one of her big breaks, and I just want to thank you. So that was really an awesome moment. I have a picture with him, but yeah, he gave a lot of people a break there. So she loved that. And Bonnie, I don't know other names on that particular show that come to mind.
Yeah. But on Dallas, who did she like?
She liked the women for sure. I'm not going to say who she wasn't a fan of, but she liked them enough to go on to Falcon Crest. So,
okay.
Yeah. Larry Hagman also lived in Rustic Canyon. He lived across the street from someone I knew. So, yeah.
Interesting. I don't know that I would have expected that. I mean, I don't know the man, but I don't know that I would have picked Rustic Hen.
Apparently, he had the bottle from I Dream of Jeannie as a prop in his backyard. Remember that? the life-size one that the kids could play in. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Lived at his house.
That is funny. And I just heard an interview with Patrick Duffy talking about Dallas. And when he got cast, he didn't know he was shooting in Dallas. He get cast in the show, and he was coming right off of like the Aquaman, right?
Yeah,
like
Man from Atlantis.
Man from Atlantis. Okay, early Aquaman. Okay, whatever. He was coming off Man from Atlantis, but apparently he just assumed they were shooting in L.A. because they shot Man from Atlantis in L.A. And then Larry Hagman's like, "No, dude, we're going to Dallas." What are you talking about? And like apparently Larry Hagman had like this camper van or something that he drove to Dallas.
Unbelievable.
And basically everybody just sort of hung out in Larry Hagman's camper van the first season of Dallas.
Yeah, that sounds like the Larry Hagman that I read about. That's fantastic.
Good. Patrick Duffy was a good guy. I think, she
liked Patrick Duffy. Mm-hmm. He talked about having to fight really hard to become a director on that. That Larry Hagman had been able to direct because he had, I guess, had directed a Genie or something. You know, at a certain point, particularly like once you get into 3 and 4, all the actors' agents want them to direct, right? So, but apparently they really fought him really hard, according to him on the podcast. It had to be Morgan Fairchild. It was either the Love Boat podcast or the Morgan Fairchild podcast that had on Patrick Duffy just recently.
How old is he? I would love to talk to him.
He's got to be in his 70s.
Yeah, but he sounded great. He sounded great, and you know,
that's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so when you went to film school, were you thinking I have this whole history? Like, did it drive you that way, or did it maybe almost make you not do it?
Well, my dad was a doctor, psychiatrist. I thought I wanted to be a doctor growing up, and he was like, "You're not going to like it, Karin. It's too hard. I don't think you'll like medical school." And so then I thought, well, I want to write. I don't know why I thought. I just had the options that my parents chose, but I started writing sort of creatively before film school, and I applied to a creative writing program and film schools. I got into the USC Professional Writing School and the USC Film School for graduate. And I thought, God, how do I decide? And I thought, well, I'm just going to pick the one that scares me more, which was film school. And film school was scary, right? That was really challenging. I loved it though. So
Which was the most challenging part?
I like the writing. I think just directing, pitching, and just, it was very competitive. There were not a lot of women.
No. Our movie, the one that you wrote and Krista directed, we were kind of hip with the amount of women we had on our crew. And you had Zemeckis.
Oh,
you had Robert Zemeckis. Like watching dailies with Robert Zemeckis was
okay. That's pretty good. This was a 480.
A 480, which is the school's going to make 5 scripted student films a semester, right, and pay for them. There are 36 pairs that get together to pitch for these 5 spots. So you submit your script. There were like 36 directors. You have to pitch your script to those directors. Then you go in together and you pitch to the faculty. And I met Krista. She picked my script. It was semi-autobiographical, right? It was my dad leaving, a coming of age. And
what was it called?
An Unfamiliar Summer.
Oh, right. I think I had a VHS of that for a while.
Really?
Yeah, because you shot it? No.
Yes.
You shot it.
Yes. So in the pairs, it was me and Ron.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
We were the cinematographers.
Well, it was so great. So and the energy at film school was very male, very a lot of these guys had family. I mean, Doug Lyman was in our
That's right.
Yeah.
class.
Doug Lyman was in our class, so
And, a lot of this Uber energy. And so for us to do a story about a young woman, but also we pulled a crew together. Most crews had maybe one female, if any.
yeah.
So our story was really different. And they pull in an outside professor or visiting professor to be the mentor. And it was Robert Zemeckis.
That's huge. That's
He
huge.
was so great.
It was.
He liked our story, and we'd watch dailies and discuss scripts. But you're so exhausted and you're working so hard and you've got so many things to do and we're clearing music. I mean, I think my favorite story from that show is my little producing side was I wanted 70s music. It was a 70s period piece, our production design. It was all 70s. It was very fun. And so I wanted to clear a bunch of music like Steve Miller Band and Jefferson Airplane and stuff like that.
This is very interesting that because that's a huge lift.
I know. No one teaches you how to do it,
No.
but you figure it out. And so
they don't teach you how to do something kind of fundamental to making a
clear
movie
music?
in film school?
Not back then.
Oh,
I
my
think
goodness.
you would ask somebody. So I don't know how, because I did it for my 310 also. I got Man in the Mirror from Michael Jackson on my little documentary.
Fantastic.
But and I have all that paperwork, everybody. No doubt. I'm sure you don't doubt it. But so I get this call, and this was in the days of call waiting. I'd put all these phone calls out, maybe sent letters in the mail to the record companies. And I'm on with a friend, and I get a call waiting. And I said, oh, hang on a second. I call back, and she says, hey, this is Grace Slick.
What?
And I said, hang on just one second. Click. Hi, I got to go. Grace Slick is on the other line. And she says, so I get this letter. Do you want to use our song? I said, yeah, it's just this little film. They're a student film. We weren't going to do anything. She said, yeah, that's fine. I'm fine. No problem.
Yeah, different time in the world,
Yeah.
isn't it?
So we have a Jefferson Airplane song on our...
That
Anyway.
is amazing. You reminded me because for my 480, I cleared the right to re-record a version of Still Crazy After all these years.
Publishing rights.
Yeah, which was, again, I didn't know how to do that. But I was like, I want my friend Rob to sing this song at the end of this movie. And so we did it.
Yeah.
I don't know how. And then also I made a music video of another song written by Janice Ian. And so I had to write to Janice Ian. And she wrote me this lovely letter back and said I could have it. Again, different time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Janice Ian, I'm sure, does not have the rights to her own music anymore.
Yeah. No, those are the wins. That's what made it fun. So yeah, I was...
But that's very interesting that you were basically doing projects that required you to secure rights, and now you have a job where you are the person that everybody has to go to secure rights.
yeah.
Yeah, the one who says no.
Sorry, we're a corporation now. Now, if a student film came to you...
Oh my God, you're not going to do this to me. Oh, I wish you could hear the conversations that I have with my gal who works for me. Some of them really pull on the heartstrings. And again, I have to think of our brand, right?
Right.
And we're really busy, so we can always say we don't have the time for this. But there are those favors where you're like, oh, this is really a good cause. And if it's within the realm of what we can legally do, we'll do it. So that's the thing, too, about a lot of our programming is our films have a message, whether it's the normal heart about AIDS or, there are so many. So we'll have on AIDS Day, people want to screen it, and we'll always try to make it work. But yeah, there are crazy asks of us. can we just have Kit Harington? I want to put his face on a T-shirt for my boyfriend's birthday. He loves him, but the T-shirt shop won't let me. They say I need to get I'm so sorry. Oh, you can't
do one on birthday wishes. That's weird.
Even though I'm sure they're pirated all over the world.
Do you get a lot of those kinds of requests? Is that a significant?
Oh, I mean, we get so many different kinds. Well, we get a lot of real legitimate. More and more there are ad collaborations. Big star will be doing something with a brand, with a watch, with a car. Those kind of leave my realm, but we'll have some people we want to do a presentation for our law firm, and we want Curb Your Enthusiasm because there's a really funny scene. I'm like, I know, I'm sure you want your presentation to be a lot more funny. But we get the legit, Universal wants a clip of Sopranos for a feature, et cetera, and we'll handle those. So,
do you get a lot of things that where people have just done it on their own, and then somehow it gets to you guys and you have to kind of rein them in or whatever?
Yeah. Sometimes they'll be reported after the fact. We don't usually do it, but sometimes someone will come and they've really gone too far. And I'll think, oh, someone should have told you can't just use copyrighted material.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But
and then you lay down the law.
If the powers that be above me say, Karin, this is a yes, do it, we'll make it happen.
So you guys met on the show. Did you know each other before you did the 480?
No, they came to me and asked me to be their director of photography, their cinematographer.
You said yes.
I did.
Wow.
This was before you did.
Yeah, I know. I went to Melissa and asked her to shoot my 480, but she was on her way out, had already shot 2 480s.
Oh, really?
And said no to me and has regretted it ever since.
Well, you didn't hold a grudge.
No, not at all.
No, and I did much?
You did how much? Then we went to you and you said yes to me. And we made a different 480 after film school.
That's right.
Did you direct it or write it or both?
So I directed and wrote the 480 when they said yes to me, and then they crushed me so hard. They tried so hard to crush my every soul, but it was okay. I'm very proud of the film that I made. It's not quite the film it could have been, but
we had that too. There was just a scene we wanted to have, and 20 minutes, no more, not 30 seconds more, not.
Yeah.
But I think, there was a patriarchy there that didn't understand some certain stories, I think.
Yeah. They were in the editing class that would meet separately from the directors, right? Which makes sense. And they were going over a cut of a scene of mine. And the editors were like, well, we don't know. And there was some question about what can you do? How can you save this scene? Which is, again, always how you want your editors to approach your film. How can we save it? And my friend that was in there was like, well, Susan's actually right down the hall. We can grab her and bring her in. And Bob Miller was like, no, we're not bringing directors in here.
To ask them questions about the film they made
So that I found that out a little bit later. But yeah, so they very much were told not to cut my film the way it was shot to be cut and written to be cut. But I actually got it back the way it was supposed to be. And it worked great. And so then my directing instructor, who was not Robert Zemeckis, and I will not name him because he was actually mostly pretty nice to me. But at the end, as I was leaving, he was like, well, I guess you did it your way.
Yeah, that was frowned upon a little bit.
Yeah, very much so.
I felt like they wanted the program to have a certain prestige and look a certain way. And the experimental learning part on it was maybe less important. Do you remember what happened with our screening? We were supposed to screen at the Academy of Motion Picture, big screen, right? And that was what they'd done every year. And a certain dean decided, oh no, too much exposure, and tried to move it, I think on campus. I don't know if they were not thrilled about some of the product or whatever, and we fought for it and they put it back.
I remember we actually had our own little screening at the Academy. And you remember what night it was?
It was the night of the riots.
Yes, it was the first night of the Rodney King riots.
We were finishing up, huge success. And, my hair, my dress, the whole thing, and went home and turned on the TV. And that was craziness.
Craig Carlson was in that screening, had a film in that screening, I think.
Was it the Wheel of Fortune?
It
one?
was Wheel of Torture.
You know what film I want to see again? I was cinematographer on Ann Kim's film. I was a cinematographer on a 480 called Breaking In, Women in the LAPD.
Was it a documentary?
Yes.
Oh.
Ann Kim, the director, and I, and a sound guy drove around and did the sound and directed. I had a 16 millimeter camera and we rode around with the cops in 1990. This is before Rodney King beating. We were jumping in and out of squad cars in South Central with 3 different female cops.
That's crazy.
It was, and we did interviews at my dad's house with them because they didn't want anything familiar looking to their whereabouts. But that film won some awards too. I think she won a student Emmy.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had a bulletproof vest.
Oh my God.
And so did she, and a camera on my shoulder. And we, it seems insane now. There's no way.
I know.
They would let you do this in a million years. And we were just like walking through people's houses. She was getting them to sign stuff, just come on through. Don't mind them.
Oh my gosh.
It was crazy. I was, 27, 28.
That's nuts.
When I was looking for work and came to HBO, I thought, this whole writing thing can be pretty heartbreaking.
Sure.
Did you see her mom be heartbreaking?
Yeah, I think in the end, it's just a really hard way to make a living. And when she was, needing to support herself and the kids were all out, it was just not as sustainable. And after film school, I had a writing partner. We sold a treatment to Disney, and we're working on a script together. I was married and I would work with him and my husband would come home and he'd say, well, so how much are you going to get for that script you're writing? He didn't obviously grow up with, a mother who in the business. I go, I don't know. Tell me, you've been spending a lot of time on it. How much are you going to make? I don't know. We may not make anything. We may never sell it. And he's like, what? Like, why would you do a job that you may never make any money at? So when I started working at HBO, I was like, this is nice to get paid every 2 weeks,
Yeah. Something to be said for that.
And have some security and some health insurance. And I'll just write on the side.
There was one more question I wanted to ask about, which was the USSR, back in the USSR. So your mom, when she was at the Writers Guild, on the Writers Guild board, organized a trip to Russia and a trip for Russian filmmakers to come to the United States.
So my mother collected friends all around the world. And if she ever met you and loved you, she never let you go. So somewhere along the way, she met some Russian writers. They would have called themselves Russian, not Soviet, and she came up with an idea with some friends who were on the board or were also writers to let's foster an exchange. So somehow she pulled together a group of very famous writers to bring one film to go to the Soviet Union. And this was in the spring of 91. I was rounding out my second year in film school, I guess. So I jumped on that trip with my partner and a video camera. It was Julius Epstein, wrote Casablanca, Ernest Lehman, Sound of Music, Larry Kasdan brought, I'm going to forget, John Patrick Shanley, William Goldman, Paul Schrader. I think his was Taxi Driver. Oh, and I have pictures of, we were in a Russian newspaper. It was Anna Hamilton Phelan. I think she brought Mask. So we had Mask, Sound of Music, Taxi Driver, Casablanca, and Moonstruck. So they were like, cool, we'll go to the Soviet Union, bring our films and have Q&As. There was a whole tour set up. I'm not even sure how they pulled this off, really.
Because this was the Cold War.
This was like May 1991.
And so those films wouldn't have screened. Maybe Sound of Music would have screened?
That's a great question. I don't know what you could watch there. Probably just...
I think by then things had started to open up some.
Okay. This was part of the opening up.
Gorbachev, yeah. So there was a warming. The economy is still very bad for the average person. Not for dignitaries, not for, guests of the state.
Oil company employees were fine.
It was, we went to museums. People brought their wives.
You
or
were
husbands.
how old?
I was 29.
Okay. And so...
Yeah. We were on buses, and we're lugging this camera that was a 1/2-inch camera. But, it was really just the pretense to get to go. So, we interviewed the Americans and we, I had a little tape player and, they loved the Americans over there. That was another thing that impressed me. And I think this is part of my mother's whole sort of philosophy is like, we're more alike than we are different, right? So let's show how alike we are. And art can open those doors for people, right? The stories are universal. I think they had simultaneous translation into Russian, but it was a major achievement.
Do you know if it's possible to see the documentary that you made somewhere?
We turned, because the Writers Guild paid for everything, we turned it all over to them. And we actually wrote a little script and, here's our outline for how we would put it together. But they didn't.
They didn't do anything?
No, they didn't do anything.
It's just so it's somewhere.
That's unfortunate, to say the least.
They do have that somewhere, yeah. So,
considering the guest list, you'd think that might be something of real interest. I mean, I don't know too many people who wouldn't like to see that.
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
all right, we got to get to the Writers Guild.
There you go. It's our project. In our spare time.
What else are they doing? They're fine. Good. That'd be an HBO movie.
There you go.
All right. Well, thank you. This has been amazing.
Thank you.
It has been really fun to go a little down memory lane, but also to hear about your mom and hear what it was to grow up in that world. It's such a unique thing she did, right?
Oh, for sure.
And when you think about her really starting that television journey at 47,
that's in and of itself incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Is there anything else about her that we haven't asked you about that you'd like to share?
She had so many passions, and especially for kids. She had a ferocious, curiosity and energy. Really was like a Renaissance woman. She could paint, she could sing. She just was always churning out ideas. Later in her life, her cousins started a program called Middle College, where they took kids who were failing out of high schools and put them at a college setting in high school classes to kind of help them maybe see a future for themselves. And a lot of these were underprivileged kids. So she brought that to LA and really took a couple of kids, one young man in particular, under her wing. And she was just a mentor for so many people. I've lost track of him, but his name was Sean Cunningham. And he said at her funeral, if I ever do anything with my life, it's because of Linda. So not only was she wanting to get the stories out, bring people together, heal people through the messages, but she just wanted to help the world and make it a better place. And she just had so much life. And
she died very young.
She was 65, unfortunately.
Well, thank you for sharing her with us. She sounds remarkable.
She would be honored. I know she would have given a great podcast.
I know. Well,
so
you gave us a
channeled a little bit of that woman.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we pass her on, and she lives on in a lot of us.
That's amazing. That's fantastic.
Giving me time for her.
Thank you. It's been great. You're our first daughter. We cover a lot of mother-daughter shows.
We certainly have 2 mother-daughter shows coming up.
We do.
With Kate and Allie and One Day at a Time.
Yep. Good. It's really good to see you, and thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah,
thank you.
Bye.
All right, so it's now green envelope time.
Yes, as promised, we are going to open the green envelope.
Okay, do you have a letter opener, or am I just going to rip it and get a paper cut? Okay, here we go.
I think you're going to rip it.
That is the sound of the envelope opening.
And the winner is...
Wait, we haven't guessed.
Oh, we have to guess.
We have to guess first.
Okay, how much do you think this check is for?
This is residuals for shows in the 80s. And I'm going to say $72.30.
I'm going to say $44.
Oh, I have no idea.
Throw it out there.
$50.
Okay.
Oh, no, go big.
Go big. $250.
Okay, I'm going to say it's $15.
Drum roll,
60
please.
cents. Okay, let's see. Residuals for Dallas, The Denial. Dallas, The New Mrs. Ewing. I have that script over there. Dallas Requiem, they put them all on one check, okay? Read all the Second Thoughts, Sweet Smell of Revenge, Waterloo at South Fork. Then we have a Falcon Crest, Suspicion, and a Falcon Crest, The Vigil. These all ran last year. Total, $89.13.
Susan wins.
I came the closest without going over.
That's right.
6, 7, 8, 9. Yep. Okay. Split 4 ways. Get about $21. There you go.
All right. You guys can...
It's like a cup of coffee, right? Couple
These days.
cups of coffee.
Good Lord.
Thanks, Mom. Thank you, WGA West.
Thank you, WGA. We always thank the Writers Guild.
And
It's always a surprise.
It is an actual check.
Oh, it's tiny. It's a tiny little check.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty.
I'm going to deposit that quick.
Yeah, go get that in the mail. You got to pay some bills on that.
Right.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us and
you're
the
welcome.
experience.
Too bad it wasn't 35 cents.
You want to wrap it up?
Let's wrap this puppy up.
In today's audiography, find out more about Karin Elstad at karinelstad.com.
Hey, and you can watch the original One Day at a Time for free at Tubi currently, or you can buy it on Apple TV or Amazon Prime.
You just never know where shows are going to pop up.
I know, they pop up everywhere.
Exactly.
Thank you all for listening. Do you remember One Day at a Time from back in the 70s? What are your questions about the show? What are your thoughts?
We love hearing from you, so send us messages at our website, 80stvladies.com. That's 80stvladies.com or at 80stvladies@gmail.com.
We're so grateful to our Patreon supporters. You help make it possible for us to do this show. Let us know what you want from Patreon, and we'll try to do it this year.
Do not miss our next episode where we talk with the one and only, the heart of Heart to Heart herself, Ms. Stephanie Powers.
This was such a special conversation for us. In early season 1, y'all, all our listeners, you were all begging for her right out of the gate. And boy, were you right. It may take a while, but we try to get everyone you guys want us to talk with. And she is one very special 80s TV lady indeed.
As always, we hope 80s TV Ladies brings you joy and laughter and lots of fabulous new and old shows to watch, all of which will bring us closer to being amazing ladies of the 21st century.